International opinion for a number of years now. They've gone out there and doubled their quota, and still governments have just stood by and sort of wrung their hands and said, oh, that's terrible, but nothing's really happened. And so I think they feel they can get away with it because international diplomatic pressure clearly doesn't embarrass them enough to make them stop.
Although the Japanese government recognises there is a ban on commercial whaling, they exploit a loophole in the agreement, claiming their whale hunts are for scientific research.
The scientific committee sends a letter of protest to Japan every year. But when Japan claims that their whaling is illegal, it's really only Japan that recognizes it. Their scientific permits are issued by the Japanese Department of Fisheries and Oceans. So there's certainly no one that buys that.
We don't know what kind of research they're doing. They haven't published a single peer-reviewed paper on any of the work that they're doing.
When Fali Moet got in close, the crew of the Nishin Maru realized they weren't Greenpeace and started to run. The team came with a specially designed prop fouling device, which had to be deployed from the deck as the sea was much too rough to use inflatables.
We had a prop fouling team. There were 5 of us on the aft deck.
They tried to cut across the bow of Nishin Maru to drop the prop fouling device.
Then, for some reason, they started turning around, and she was on a collision course with us.
Captain Paul Watson faced a difficult situation. The Nishin Maru was a much larger boat, and a collision would be disastrous for both the Fali Moet and his crew.
The Japanese were trying to scare us. As soon as they came very close, we heard their big horn blowing. Bomb, 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 bomb.
Oh, we're no protest ship. Now get out of here.
A minute later, I swear we were about 1 minute from impact. The captain pulled his horn, and that was our signal to release our prop fouling device. And we shacked over this long blue line. I was holding on for dear life. I mean, it was a massive storm. The ship was now being hit from the side by 15-meter waves.
When the Nishin Maru saw the blue line being dropped, they turned, only 30 seconds away from impact. They then ran and proceeded to run for the next 2 weeks.
We are willing to, put our ship on the line for the whales. So that was Christmas Day. It was all over by 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I went to bed, and the next day it was the 26th. Lovely Christmas. It was a great present, though. We did chase them out of the sanctuary that day. They ran for about 10 days without whaling.
The Fali Moet ship couldn't keep up with the Nishin Maru for very long. Greenpeace and the Foster Esperanza were in a stronger position. They could constantly demonstrate and harass the Japanese.
We've harassed them, we've interfered with their hunt, we've slowed them down. We've also captured some very powerful and terrible images of the hunting process, which is very cruel.
But the whaling eventually resumed. Crew members seemingly not in a bit perturbed by the cameras that are recording their every move.
But this time, they were much more brazen. They simply hunted in front of us, and so we captured images we've never seen before of the whales actually being hunted, of the process that goes on as they are killed.
A brazen act of defiance, and perhaps a clear demonstration that the international anti-whaling agreement is quite toothless.
If something large doesn't happen to change it, then, our ship isn't going to stop them. We can try, but they're still going to take whales.
The IWC, or International Whaling Commission, was set up in 1948 to manage the fast-dwindling numbers of whales by allocating harvesting quotas to participating countries. South African Horst Kleinschmidt, the deputy chairperson of the IWC, is very disillusioned by what he sees.
The Whaling Commission stands out in international terminology as something that is incongruent and out of sync with where other international environmental debate and organization has gone to.
When the IWC agreed on a moratorium on whaling in 1982, it consisted of 37 active members, of which only 7 supported whaling. At its most recent meeting in 2005, 19 out of its 47 members voted for an immediate resumption of commercial whaling. It is expected at the next meeting in 2006 that even more countries will vote yes for continued whaling. When the Fali Moet reached calmer waters, Captain Watson could use his next line of attack. This is where vessel played a crucial role. On board are a small arsenal of light craft that can be deployed to harass whalers. 2 wave riders, 3 inflatable ski boats, and a helicopter. The maintenance of the ski boats was Vessel's responsibility. He was also the skipper of the main attack craft.
Got these big davits. They actually clip onto the Zodiac, lift it up, and crane it to the side of the ship and drop it down. And we can do this while the ship's moving.
His aim was to catch up with the whaler and then deploy their prop stalling device from the inflatable, slowing it down so that the Farley Mowat can get within striking range. It was an ambitious plan that hadn't been tested before.
You have 2 floating devices, a big buoy and a big buoy with a cable strung in between them. And from that cable you have frayed rope that increases the chance of the cable to actually get sucked in.
Speeding up to a boat that towers above you is never a pleasant thought, he says, but fortunately they had some inspiration along the way. As I sped off, there were four fin whales came up, and it was like a signal, and that just boosted me. They circled the whaler a few times to test their reaction. But as we got to the ship, its water cannons were already spurting. There were its whole after area was just pumping full of water. There was just massive bursts of water going in every direction. 3 prop stalling devices are deployed continuously until one hopefully does the trick. It's dumped at the bow, and if it fails to get entangled, it's then picked up again and dumped in the bow wave again for another run past the propellers. They battled for 2 hours, but after their 15th attempt, the ship was still steaming ahead. Yeah, we were unlucky it didn't work, but it's going to work in the future. We're working on some newer models. The next day they ran into a whaler supply vessel that also transports whale meat from factory ships to market.